Okay, Football Friday continues. You've heard of Black Monday. How about Black Friday? From the CFL, the Edmonton Elks have released quarterback Trey Ford, and out of Minnesota, the Vikings fired general manager Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah today. According to ESPN, a shocking turn following an organization-wide failure to make the playoffs this season. Jim Barker joins us, a football man, as we said, if there ever was one. Jim, there's never any shortage of things to talk about in this zany game of football, man. Your thoughts on today's news?
Well, you just wait an hour and something new is going to pop. Obviously, Trey Ford being released in our league is a big story. Uh, a Canadian quarterback that's shown flashes of being, a great player. Where does he end up? Does he go to BC with Nathan Rourke, where now if a Canadian leave, Canadian can replace him? So from a ratio standpoint, that helps him. Or does he go to a place like Winnipeg that has Taylor Elgersma rights? It'll be real interesting to see where he lands. There'll be a few teams. Saskatchewan will be looking for a backup quarterback. I'm sure Trey's going to be going in as a backup. And again, I don't know what his situation is, but he needs to find a team. It's all about fit for he and his agent. You don't necessarily go to the top dollar. You go to the best fit to get him on the field as quickly as possible and play with a good team around him, those types of things. So it'll be interesting to see where Trey lands. The free agency period in our league opens Sunday in terms of the legal tampering period, the dreaded legal tampering. So that starts on Sunday, which should be interesting. I haven't done it in a while in terms of watching how things transpire and that type of thing. There's just a lot of little things, we're doing all of our final preparations on who we're going to go on. And there's just things I learned today, a rule I didn't know. You can only play two global players have two global players on your roster at one time. So a guy like Baldonado, who's a good, a really quality defensive end, if you have another global player and maybe a global punter, you can't play with three. You can only have two on your roster. So that factors into we have a global punter. We also had drafted a global defensive lineman in last year's draft. Marcus Grandison did a great job in that draft and drafted a young man named Sawani Lohai. He's a Tongan from San Jose State. And when I'm getting depressed, I just put his film on. And it's like, wow, it's really fun to watch young guys play. So it's been a really interesting week, getting excited about the free agency coming. And we had a big signing this week with, Dakota Shepley. And that one kind of came out of nowhere, but it was one of those things you couldn't resist. You couldn't, we build. Mike Miller's number one thing is build the team from the inside out. You know how I am with the lines and things. So that's what we're doing. We're building it from the inside out. And one of the problems that we felt happened last year was they lost their physicality. So, we're trying to get that back.
Former Dallas Cowboy, Dakota Shepley, Canadian out of UBC, and former Saskatchewan Rough Rider. Good move there. I'm dying to talk about the Super Bowl 60 matchup, but we got a week to do that, and they won't play for another 10 days. So I want to go back to the Trey Ford thing. I was going to ask you if you thought he was a franchise quarterback that could lead a team, because two regimes in Edmonton thought he was, but it sounds to me like you're thinking he's not.
Well, I don't think right now he is. I look around the league. There's nobody that's looking for a franchise quarterback. I mean, you have Zach Caleros starting to age in Winnipeg. Taylor Elgersma could be up here learning the Canadian game, but he's down playing in the UFL, which again they think that's their path to the NFL, a faster path. I don't necessarily agree, but and then you got Trevor Harris, who's in his 40s. Jake Mayer, I think, is going to leave. My prediction is he's going to leave Saskatchewan and end up in Ottawa with Ryan Dinwiddie. That's just again just a prediction. It's nothing I've heard. There's no inside information just because I'm working in the Argo
Yep.
office. I wouldn't do that. So this is all just my speculation, like I do on your show every Friday for the last 2 years.
Well, and I appreciate you doing that, and the league knows, and the Argos know that's exactly what you're doing. We're just talking football here. I get it. On the Super Bowl 60 matchup, if you're done with all of that, Seahawks Patriots, it's not the greatest matchup. That's what I'm hearing from all the pundits. I think Denver and anybody would have been out of the Final Four. But how do you feel about Seattle and New England going at it next week in Santa Clara?
Well, would you rather have Denver with Jarrett Stidham or the Patriots with a young, upcoming Drake May? Honestly.
Sure. No, I
mean, you
get
got
it.
two. They're both good defenses. You've got the story of Drake May. In Seattle, you have the Sam Darnold story, who's not gotten the same kind of path Drake May got. Drake May gets drafted by a team that basically turns him into Tom Brady. And Josh McDaniels, their offensive coordinator, deserves a ton of credit. But Sam Darnold didn't get that luck. He got drafted by the Jets, and he's made his tour. He goes to Minnesota, and it's kind of interesting that the Minnesota GM gets fired today, okay, when they made the decision to basically give him away for nothing and go with JJ McCarthy. So I'm positive that has something to do with that decision in Minnesota, the decision to let Sam Darnold go. And Sam goes and takes his team now. They're one game away. And I picked the Rams. You had both winners. I had both losers. So I picked the Rams because of Stafford over Darnold. And again, it didn't pan out that way. And good on Sam Darnold, the USC guy. And it's. I think that Seattle team is built the way you build teams. I mean, they run the ball well. They stop the run. They're very physical inside. I like that football team.
Well, now that we think about it, number one, the Seahawks and Patriots earned the right to be there. I don't discount that. I was saying earlier, when the Stampeders were in the Grey Cup every year, everybody was sick of them. I'm like, they've earned it. These two teams have earned it. But when you say Stidham and the Broncos, we haven't talked about those conference championship games. In the good conditions, Stidham looked like he was leading them to the win. And then the snow hit, and that was the end of the Broncos. But Stidham and the Broncos in this Super Bowl would have been one hell of a story. They wouldn't have had a chance against Seattle. But what was your take in that game? The snow, the blizzard.
Well, my first thought on this was when you look back at how the second half went, nobody was scoring. It was not going to be But when you're in pro football, the equipment guy, that's usually who it is. His one great thing is to be able to go out to the coach just before kickoff. They used to hand Don Matthews, Danny Webb did it here, hand him the smelling salts, to get the whiff. And then he says, okay, first half, the wind's going to be this much. We could get rain in the second half. They had to know that storm was brewing. So you're Sean Payton, and you have a chance to kick a field goal and take a 10-point lead when you know a snowstorm is coming. I just can't believe he didn't know, because I know that is every equipment guy. You talk to Normie Fong. He wants to get out there and tell that coach what is going on with the weather. That's what they do. And I guarantee you that somebody had that job with the Broncos, and he still chose, even knowing there was a snowstorm coming, to go for it on that third down play and not take a 10-point lead. I was shocked by it.
Me too. I said the exact same thing. Not only do teams have meteorologists on staff, Ken Miller used to call the airport the damn terminal. What's the weather in the next hour? I'm not joking. So yeah, I would totally. How did you not know? Did you think, because people weren't really roasting him over it, is that because it's Sean Payton? Like if it was a lesser name of a head coach, he'd be roasted more. Like I was stunned in the game too that he went for it.
Yeah, and then he fired his longtime offensive coordinator. I mean, he was there a long time. I think his name's Lombardi, and I was stunned that he'd been with him for 20 years. So and then he fired him almost as a result of this, and again, head coaches have to do what they do, and that was one that just because I know the weather reports are so critical to somebody on that Broncos staff. I don't know who it is for them, but somebody, that's his one day in the sun. And Sean Payton goes for it on fourth down when they can take a 10-point lead. So again, I thought it was a game that was just difficult to watch just because it was so messy. It was hard for people to catch the ball. It was, the ball. It was hard to keep their feet. They just. It was just a difficult half to watch. And again, I was cheering for the Broncos because I had picked them on your show. The only reason I have to cheer is if I pick them on your show. And I have my little brother on the other phone calling and saying, I told you were totally wrong on Rod's show, totally wrong. And
well, hey, I'm glad they were watching. It was. I would love to break this down with you more, but the viewers have questions, and I will just say I was stunned that the Broncos didn't have a better plan for the snow. The quarterback was slipping, the tailback was slipping. They couldn't throw the ball, whereas Drake May just took the ball and ran, no problem. New England looked like the home team. But anyways, Jeremy writes in and he says, do you think the Chiefs will get the offense back in order with Eric Bieniemy back as offensive coordinator? Did that shock you that he's going back?
No, it doesn't shock me, but I don't think it makes a big difference. I mean, Andy Reid runs that, and they're going to do Andy's things. And, Eric Bieniemy he was at UCLA for a bit. He's gone and done. I remember Eric Bieniemy when he was a running back at Bishop Amat High School back in Southern California. And I can remember watching him then. And, he worked his way up and good on him. But I don't see him being a huge difference. I mean, their problem is they got to get their offensive line squared away. That's number one. And then I think they got to keep their receivers healthy. I mean, I think that hurt Mahomes a lot. So the Chiefs have those kind of issues to deal with, more so, I think, than, bringing Eric Bieniemy back. Mike Nagy is still there, former Bears head coach. And, Andy's got a strong staff around him. And, Eric just adds to that.
Plus, he left on his own. It's not like he was fired, right? Didn't he go to Washington and then he went to USC? Yep. Yeah. By the way, your brother's written in LOL.
Yeah, he did a lot of that at me. A lot of laughing out loud at me.
Brent in Saskatoon says, I'm kind of surprised to hear the Vikings fired their GM, but you went over that. It has to do. I couldn't agree more. Allowing Sam Darnold to leave. At the time, we were like, what are you doing? You got to find a way, man. You really do. What else is on your mind in the football world these days, Jim?
Oh, like I say, I'm so locked in on this. Like, there's only a few times when personnel people have to really lock in the draft and free agency. So I'm so locked in on that I really haven't. Again, I haven't looked at a lot of things, and I get here early in the morning. I'm here late at night, making sure we don't go miss somebody. Today, we're having to go through, make sure we have the phone numbers we need. So, again, there's going to be a lot of players that we're not expecting that might fall to us, might be able to get into our price range that we've basically ruled out because we didn't think we could get them. But then when the reality hits that they're going to be a lot cheaper. So I'm so engulfed in that. I can tell you anything you need to know about the free agency. I think it's going to be a real interesting time. I think there's been a lot of guys released prematurely so that, we've gotten our two most important guys. I mean, two of the most important guys in Pickett and Shepley. That's two big signings for us. And, it's going to be interesting to see what happens on Sunday when you start. The other thing I hate about this whole tampering period, I hate they've agreed to terms. It's like, now that I'm in a personnel position and we have somebody who agrees to terms with us, what does that mean? That means nothing. That means I've gotta sit on pins and needles for a week until we can actually sign him, and hope that at the end of that week, nobody has stepped up and said, "Well, we'll give you an extra $5," and they turn and go somewhere else. So, you
Oh, I
hope that
know.
doesn't happen. But so I'm kind of looking forward to see what that's like, because I haven't been through that in since, well, 22 for a little bit, but for a while. So it's going to be interesting times.
Well, frankly, I don't know how the GMs have the time, or for that matter, the assistant GMs, because you agree to terms, but then that player has to go back to his current team and see if they'll match it. And it seems convoluted, but I'm sure they have their reasons for it. We have less than a minute, but Jeremy wants to know. Oh, we have 2 minutes. Okay. Jeremy says, Jim, do you think the Patriots team reminds you of the old Patriot way?
They really do. What they don't have that the old teams had, but they will get, are great receivers. I don't I don't know. I mean, Stephon Diggs is playing well, and they've got some players, but they don't have that Randy Moss, those kind of guys that Brady attracted. I think you're going to see that in the near future with them. But they play Patriot defense. They're very, very good on defense. They rush the passer, and then they're physical, run the ball. And that's what Josh McDaniels wants to do, is run the ball, and allows his quarterback some vertical play action, which is what Drake May is a master of. I mean, that's his game. Very similar. John Elway was that way. Tom Brady. They're very good at that. You get play action and then just progression reads 1, 2, 3, and you can watch Drake going through it. And it's been a perfect offense for him. So yeah, no, this Patriot team reminds me of those teams because they are so good on defense, and they have a quarterback. Again, Drake made a bad mistake in that last game. Not as bad as the one Stidham made when Stidham threw the ball backward on the 11-yard line, which was crazy time. That's the one thing I said on your show. Stidham's not going to do that, and he did it. And
That
as
he
soon
did.
as he
That
did
little.
it, I thought back.
Oh.
I got him because I jinxed him on Rod's show. I said he wouldn't do that, and he
And
did
then
it.
like 2 plays later, Drake May is running it into the end zone. But that's the playoffs, is why we love it so much, because a play like that will
Yep.
turn a game, right? Moose is coming up in the next segment. We got a lot of comments on your comments, but I will say this about the Patriots. Yeah, they don't have yet a Teddy Bruschi or a Vrabel on the field or a Vince Wilfork, but you know what? They got a guy pulling the trigger that reminds us a lot of the old guy where it all started. So
Yeah,
that's
that's a
exciting.
great
And
point
that's,
about their defense.
yeah, that's why I will be cheering for the Patriots, because I admire what Robert Kraft does. Like you, I like a good owner, and I actually hate
Yep.
a bad owner more than anything.
Yep.
So it's going to be fun. We'll be talking about it next week. Jim, thanks for the time. Enjoy the weekend.
Thanks, Rod. Take care.
The Moose joins us next. He is in Jim Barker's hometown of Los Angeles. I have no idea why, but we'll find out here on Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network and Game Plus TV.